Well, hello there. Welcome to Healing with Shawnalee. How are you doing tonight? I have Carey Tomich with me tonight. And Carey, she's a certified Theta Healer. She's also a Reiki Master and Reconnection Practitioner. She's a gifted energy healer. And if you know her, she's been in the Tribe of Giants for a little bit. She's a medical intuitive. She specializes in soul connections and mind over body medicine. She helps you connect with who you are and how you can be your authentic self, happy, healthy, and live a purpose-driven life. Carey can help you figure out what your heart and soul and mind are trying to tell you, which is really big in these days. So, Carey, I'll let you go ahead and start for a second and tell me about you and how you got started in this.
Okay, first of all, I want to say, Ryan, I'm sorry I couldn't find jammas. I didn't have enough time.
No, I didn't have a tracksuit.
I know, I am so bummed out. And then I went to put my Giants hug shirt on. I brushed my teeth and spilled stuff all down my shirt. So I'm like, okay, we're going with the next third thing is a nice shirt. Sorry, to let me down, Ryan.
That's okay. That's okay. Oh, hello, Nicole.
So anyway, so my past, first of all, I believe honestly that everything that we go through is meant to be. And I believe that we kind of plan everything out on the other side and make plans. And I kind of believe that that's why we have deja vu, because we see that we're in alignment with our soul and where we came from and where we're supposed to be going on our path. So anyway, my childhood, I grew up in Salt Lake and very LDS community. And so anyway, my dad was extremely abusive. And so that was kind of the norm, but it wasn't just that my dad was abusive. It was the fact that my dad was famous. And so everybody around the Salt Lake Valley that had any importance, you know, the police, the state, the church, everybody either was scared to death of my dad or wanted to rub shoulders with my dad because of who he was. So, pardon?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it wasn't fun. Like everybody was like, oh my God, I wished I could have been. Yeah, no, it wasn't fun. It was pretty rough. And I honestly believe that, you know, it was my free education. It was my Phoenix College, you know, and so I learned from a very young age, and it's so funny because this last few days has been like an eye opener to me, even though I've had all these tools and struggling and learning all these years. I realized that I always believed that everything was supposed to be the way it is. And I did not ever in my life have anybody I could count on. I never trusted another human being. I mean, to be fed, nothing. I never trusted my parents. I never trusted anybody. Even getting married, I never trusted my husband, never trusted my sisters, my kids, nobody. Because from what my dad taught me growing up is we couldn't tell anybody what was going on in our house because then we'd get beat more because of what was told of what was going on. If we got hurt, we couldn't go to the doctors or the hospital because then they'd know what was going on at the house. And so there was a lot of stuff that went on that taught me that not to trust another human being ever. And until I started doing all my energy healing, that was my truth. And so this last little bit in this year has really taught me that, you know, I really believe in mirroring, and I believe in what we see in others. And I believe in our memories have a belief, and it teaches us about who we are and how we feel about ourselves, which makes who we are in the world, right? Yeah. And so I have recently realized that was all just I don't know if I can swear, but it's like bullshit.
Yes.
But it was a belief that I made my entire life about, was that I could not let anybody in. I've never let another human being in my life. I've never trusted anybody. And I've always had panic attacks and extreme PTSD and anxiety because I had to count on myself, and I could not count on anybody. I couldn't trust anybody. And so it's been a learning experience. And so anyway, as I went along in my life, when I got married, and I got in a really bad car accident when I was in Salt Lake, and I couldn't walk for years. And well, I had a 9-month-old baby at home, and I had a 2.5-year-old baby, and my husband was busy off, enjoying his life and being Mr. Whatever, Mr. Fun Guy. And I was home trying to figure out how to just drag myself down the hall and try to survive and try to get through raising my kids. And, I thought it was, what do you call it? Just like a survival of the fittest. If you can survive, then that's all that was important. And I realized after 2 more car accidents and being down for, over 12 years, I realized that I was dying. All my organs was shutting down because of all the medicine they put me on and all the treatments they put me on. And so I finally one day says, enough of this. I can't count on even doctors. I can't count on God himself. Nobody's going to save me. This is up to me. This is my world. So that's when I started learning about energy healing. And I started going to classes and learning about all kinds of stuff, the emotions and about the beliefs and about hands-on healing. And this wasn't my world, I was like, I don't know if anybody's from the Mormon community, but that's not how I grew up, And, and it was funny because, I've never talked to anybody about anything that I went through, but since I was 4 or 5 years old, one of my biggest things was I kept feeling like God had this purpose for me and I didn't know what it was. And it was like I was crying all the time because I'm like, I'm not worthy to be whatever this is because it feels too big for me and I don't know what to do with it. And it just felt like such a big burden because I'm like, first of all, I don't know what it is. But I know there's something in me that is so big that I don't know what to do with it. And I don't know really if God knew what a horrible human being I was, I wouldn't be able to do it anyway. It'd be taken away from me. And so after I got in, oh my gosh, my 2nd or 3rd car accident, I had such bad panic attacks. I couldn't even leave the house. I couldn't sit. I couldn't walk. And my first car accident, I didn't walk for a full year. And then 2 years later, I got another car accident. So, I got myself up walking, and then I got in the 2nd car accident, and then I couldn't walk again. And then I got in another car accident, couldn't walk again. And it was like, I felt like the universe was just knocking me down, Yeah. And I finally decided by the time I went to Mayo Clinic and I couldn't eat. For a year, I ate crackers and water. And, I looked like I was from Ethiopia. And I'm like, I was getting pissed. And I'm like, God's not even going to save me. It's up to me. And so when I started going to these classes, I realized that it all was about God. And it all was about learning to love and trust myself. And when I started going through trying to figure out, why am I where I'm at? Why am I going through this hell? What is the problem here? I realized that it was all about trying to clear these beliefs and how I felt about myself, because my understanding is that it wasn't the beating, it was about why was I being beat? Because if a dad loves somebody that bad or that much, I must be a piece of shit or he wouldn't have to beat me all the time. So that was the belief I formed was, well, I'm a piece of shit, so I deserve to be beat. And that's what he's got to do to keep me in line. Well, God, I was a nine-year-old girl, and I was like, I don't know, 87 pounds. And it just dawned on me that this is all about my beliefs and who I am and how I feel about myself. And here, now it's been long enough that I've transposed these beliefs onto my kids, and
Wow.
Yeah,
Tell me how
so
you went through
it's
that.
been a journey, and I've just come to believe that it's all about these beliefs and about how we feel about ourselves and how worthy we feel. And we can't even accomplish anything and go out in the world and do anything of importance or what we came here to do if you don't feel good about yourself.
Wow. Yeah.
So so that's kind of where I came from.
That's a lot. That you've come, yeah, you got that right, Amber. You've come so far, and look at how brave you are. Uh,
Yeah, so
you've came a long way. And
and it's been something because I finally come to this belief of, here I am, I'm hand in hand in God, and I'm here to do healing, and I'm here to help other people. But I still had that belief from back in childhood, because one of the earliest beliefs I had that I took with me forever was, I asked my dad, and I'm sure it came from church and, hearing about God and about heaven and where I came from and why I'm here. And my thought I had was, it dawned on me one day. I mean, I'm 5, 6 years old. I don't know exactly, but it was like, it dawned on me that, how did I get inside this body? This is not me. I don't know how I'm in this body, especially this piece of shit body that deserves to be beat, that I'm supposed to be there, up there, not in here. How did I get from there to here? And, this was me at 4, 5, 6 years old. And I kept asking my dad and my mom, I'm like, how did I get in here? I don't belong in here. And, they could never give me an answer that soothed my soul. And it was just a big struggle. So most of growing up in my adult life was trying to figure out, okay, so make me understand, why am I in this body? What am I doing here? So,
wow. And questioning your whole life. So you kind of
yeah.
kept people at distance from you.
Oh, yeah.
And so you probably felt very much alone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I couldn't trust other people. And then, I remember, gosh, I think at 6 years old, I met this, my best friend that we're still best friends to this day. But we'd go ghost hunting because I knew when there was spirits around. But she's the only one I ever talked to about that.
You could
And I remember my mom talking about it, and one of my sisters talking about it. And my grandpa always knew everything everybody was doing. So it's like, I didn't even think nothing about it except for, well, don't tell anybody because this is one of those other things.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got yourself through. So after that 5th car wreck, that's when also you started to piece things together.
Well, the first 3 was the 3 main car wrecks.
I can't even
After
believe
the first one, I was so traumatized by the accident that I just couldn't even make myself get in a car again once I even drove. And by the 3rd one, I'm like, we're going to Idaho. I cannot drive in these Utah roads anymore. There's people want to kill me. so,
Yeah.
so yeah, I was traumatized about all the traffic. And so we come up here. And so by the 3rd accident, I started like smelling things on people, and I was like, I'm freaking out. Why am I smelling things on people? I'm seeing things on people.
Yeah.
I'm hearing things on people. I'm like, something's wrong. I'm going crazy. And once I got so sick that I couldn't eat, and I was allergic to people. It was like I had chemical sensitivities, so I couldn't handle anybody having soaps. I couldn't handle anybody's smells. And so I finally just had enough that I finally went to a naturopath, and then they sent me to an energy healer, and then they sent me to the lady that started training me.
Oh, wow. It was all divinely inspired.
Everything
And
was.
you had your gifts that started to unfold, is where you could sense energy, you could see energy, you could hear. And so those started to unfold. And where you didn't know who you were yet, it was that path starting to unfold, and those gifts that were starting to come.
Oh my gosh, when they first started up, I was so scared because it's like all of a sudden one day it's just like I just woke up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I'm crazy. I mean, seriously, I called my mom because I was staying up in Idaho Falls because I had a panic attack so bad I couldn't drive back and forth. It's an hour drive and I couldn't handle driving. So I asked somebody if I could rent one of the rooms, and there'd be a bunch of us renting one apartment and air mattresses everywhere. And I remember I just all of a sudden, it's like I went to a class one day and my spine was so twisted and my stomach was twisted and I couldn't digest food. And I woke up in the middle of the night and I had the worst pain I've ever had in my entire life. And my spine straightened out. And like I could sit in class all day. And then the next night, my stomach straightened out. And everybody's like, because the class had been hearing all about it. And everybody's like, let's go to pizza and see if Carey can eat it.
Yeah. Wow. Those are some divine miracles that had happened.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So yeah, I remember calling my mom and I'm like, Mom, do we have any relatives in Provo, which is like the psychiatric hospital? I'm like, Mom, I think I'm going crazy.
Wow. And so your kids were young also at that time.
Yeah, by the time I started going to my classes, my kids was just in junior high, getting ready to start in high school.
Yeah. And how did they deal with mom and see mom going through all these changes as well?
Yeah, it's been a really sore spot in my family. I kind of got, what do you call it? I kind of got ostracized out of my entire family. My sisters, nobody really wanted anything to do with me because now I'm like doing the voodoo. And everybody was so upset that all of a sudden I'm standing up and I'm walking. Every time people came up from out of town, I was in bed. And yet I'm walking and they're like, the devil made you do that because, God doesn't make you walk. The devil does. I'm like, really? Who's your God?
Yeah, he's loving. That's a powerful story. Yeah. What an incredible awakening story. And that.
Yes. So I was tickled that I was walking. I mean, I knew it was God. It felt divine. It felt high. It felt loving. It felt like it was finally falling into that, why am I here purpose, Yeah. And as my kids was growing up, we didn't really talk about mom's thing, but my kids, would always sit down and laugh because my kids could actually see spirits. I wasn't seeing them, but I knew when they was there and I could hear them and I knew what they wanted. My kids just saw them.
Your clairs.
So we didn't talk about my crap. We talked about the kids' because it was uncomfortable to hear that mom was weird.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got through that. And during your energy healing, you probably had to go through some sort of like forgiveness.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Like I says, I really found out that I spent years and years and years, and I've talked to all my siblings, and everybody has got so much anger towards my dad. I mean, one of my sisters absolutely my dad's been dead for over 10 years. And one of my sisters just hates him so bad. And you can see her wreathing in pain that she hates him so bad. And, it's been like you forgive and then you get mad because you remember something that happened, and then you get forgiving. And then one day I listen to podcasts all the time, and I listen, audiobooks, and I listen to all these great scientists talking about this stuff. And one day, and I don't remember who it was talking, their little soul in the sun with Neil Donald Walsh.
Yeah.
Favorite kids book other than the Giants. Anyway, Neil Donald Walsh was talking about the little soul in the sun, and what it is it's a forgiveness book. And it's these souls that come down to earth together. And what the story is that the one soul wanted to find out what it was like to be human. Well, you have to go through all this torture of this happening and this happening, this happening to evolve. And he says, well, who is going to do that to me when we all come from heaven? And the other soul says, I love you so much that I would be glad to do that to you. I would be glad to hurt you and to torture you and be what you need me to do so you can learn forgiveness. And when I heard that, I bawled and I bawled all the way to Idaho Falls. And I'm like, oh my God, my dad, there's nothing for me to forgive. That was the day I stopped trying to forgive my dad. And I realized it had nothing to do with me. That was my education by what I took away from it and how to move on with my healing experience. My dad, that was not even about me. My dad wasn't beating me because I was a piece of shit, like I always thought. My dad, you know, he was over 6 foot tall. He was 340 pounds. He was a professional wrestler. And he was trying to beat his mother out of his head. And it was all these girls that just reminded him of his mom and her beating him. Yeah. You know, and
could only perform to what they had been taught before.
Yeah. And so I realized at that moment, I didn't have anything to forgive. There was nothing about me in any of that beating. It was him and what he needed to do to get that out of his head. He had these demons in his head. Yeah. And he was trying to beat those out of his head. And it just happened to be me and my sisters and my brother that got the lash of it. And so I had to finally forgive myself for being that piece of shit because I wasn't. I was this sweet little girl that just happened to be beaten by her dad. I didn't deserve it. And there was no need carrying all this anger anymore. Because, I mean, oh, my God, when I was in junior high and elementary, I used to beat the shit out of everybody else on the way to school. And on the way home, I beat up 2 more because I got beat up at home. I went out and I beat up the next kid. I mean, I was just an angry human being.
Wow.
So when I heard that story, I realized that I had nothing to forgive. The only thing to forgive was me for what I was and what I wasn't.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's very powerful. And that you could just extend that just like that. I mean, it as like Ember said, I believe that it explains the behavior. It doesn't excuse the behavior.
Right.
Because he had to go through that, then, you know, and that you had to go through that. But I see why you took it out on also other people because you just didn't understand. And
right.
A powerful story of forgiveness and going through like those hard times. So then you were able to walk. You started to find out your energy gifts, your gifts of healing, your clairs, I would call them, like clairsentient, clairaudient. The parents didn't address their demons. Their children had to too. I can so relate. I can too. Yeah. From my story as well. You know, what I had to go through in my marriage as well. And mine was during my marriage and having to go through that and going through the abuse in that part. So we are proof that we can change, forgive, learn, and understand each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so funny because the first 3 car accidents, I mean, you know, I didn't have a lot of anger. I was just hurt. I was just like, you know, of course this happened. Everything happens to me. I'm always being beaten and stepped on and whatever. But the last 2 car accidents, man, I was just tired of being hit, you know? Yeah. And so these last 2, it's like, I got mad. I mean, I was pissed off for about, I don't know, 3, maybe 5 minutes. And 5's my rule, man. That's it. You're done after 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay, there's a point to all of this. What is it? And so like the second to last car accident, my 4th car accident, I saw the kid in my mirror. I saw him looking down at his phone and I was stopped behind another vehicle. There's nothing I could do. I knew he was going to slam me. And so then I was pissed because, you know, you're messing around, you're not paying attention. And now you just took out my neck. You know, I just finally get my back together and this kid hits me in the neck. And I was pretty mad for about 5 minutes. And I'm like, okay, you need to calm down before you get out of this car. Or you're going to go kill that kid. Yeah. And so I'm like, you know what, Carey? Take a minute. What is the purpose of this? What is the bigger purpose of this? And I know that throughout that next year, more purposes showed up. But the first thing that I could do to try to make myself reassured that everything's supposed to happen for a reason Just remember, you're everywhere you're supposed to be and doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I sat there for a minute and I'm like, okay, obviously that kid was texting when he hit me. You know what? I might have just saved his life because I'm not dead. He's not dead. I'm going to get out and I'm going to walk. I might have to have my neck fixed, but I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. And so it was like, this might have saved his life. I've been known to text myself. And I'm like, you know what? I'll bet this slows you down too. Yeah, so that's how I had to get out of that accident. Is I had to tell, you know what? There's a point for it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so how did you get through that next one? That year you said some other things that
I have found that every single accident, as much as, you don't want to go through the hell of things that's going on in your life, they bring me what I need to learn, and like that one, I had to have my neck fused. I've already had my back fused a few times, and then they had to go in because I hurt my back, so they had to go take all the metal out. I've got the metal sitting here in a bag that I keep with me to remind me, Wow. And so I had to have my neck fused, and I had to have my sister take care of me. And then I'm like, I've got this. I have to take care of myself. So after a week, I'm like, take me back to my house. I got my walker. I'm good. I've got this. And then somebody else called me once I got my neck done. I was laying around for about a year trying to get my neck stabilized. And somebody called me in the middle of the night, a friend from healing classes, girlfriend that I've never even met. And I'm famous for helping people I've never met before. So this girl calls me and she says, Carey, I need you to take me to the hospital. And it's, 12 o'clock at night. And I'm like, okay, tell me where you live and I'll come get you. So I went over there and I took her to the hospital. And my biggest fear is always, no matter what's wrong with me, I'm scared to death to go to the hospital because I'm not, even my dad wouldn't take me to the hospital. And then I get married and then, it's emotional abusive. And, my husband was always, you don't need to go to the hospital. Well, you know what? I was having tachycardia. I was having all kinds of things and I was having major problems and he wouldn't call an ambulance. And my daughter had to take me to the hospital once. So this lady asked me to take her to the hospital, and I walk into the hospital, and here I've got this, this backpack of anger that I'm carrying around with me about, only piece of shits go to the hospital. You don't deserve to go to the hospital. It's too much trouble. It's too much money. You don't deserve to be there. And you're a pain in the ass and you shouldn't be at the hospital. And I take this lady that is, she was so sick. Oh my God, she was just throwing up everywhere. So I take her to the hospital and I'm looking around at all these poor, sick people that are at the hospital. I'm like, none of these people are pieces of shit. Everybody here needs help. Oh my God, look at that poor person. They're loved. They're nobody but love and they need help. Look at that poor person. Oh my God, they need help. They need hope. They need love. And that alone was worth the car accident. That alone was worth 2 years of being in misery and that pain and all the surgery, because I learned I wasn't a piece of shit. All them years, I believed that for 54 years. And I realized people go to the hospital because they need help. That's it. That's it. Nothing else.
Nothing else. No meaning. It's our perspective and how we see things.
Yes. So that was an eye opener. And then 2 years ago, I got hit again in a roundabout. And I got to tell you, none of it's been my fault. I get hit every time. So don't be thinking it's me.
Yeah. Amber wanted to see the medal.
So the last one I got hit and it tore my shoulder up. And it tore my neck up again. So I had to go and I had, a year ago, November, I had my right arm done this time. And I learned, oh my God, I had to ask people for help. Nothing in the world is harder on me than having to ask somebody for help.
Yeah.
And not only did I have to accept help, I had to ask for help. And And, on the Tribe of Giants, I think it was Ryan that posted a question, and it was A, B, C, and D. And it was like, what is the hardest thing for you to do? Everybody said B, everybody. And it's like, the hardest thing to do is ask for help. Okay, why? Do you not feel worthy? Do you feel like somebody else deserves it more than you? What is it that we feel like we're not enough, that we need help?
Yeah, because that pride factor, I think that you could do it alone. And yeah,
I've got this. I'm strong enough. That's not going to say I'm weak. That's not going to take away from somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I needed from this last car accident, and some of the beliefs I had as a child, that nobody was going to help me. Nobody's going to come to my rescue. It's me alone, and not even God can help me. And that accident and that surgery, as bad as it was, taught me that, sometimes you can't do this alone. And sometimes you got to let people in. And sometimes it's okay to ask for help. And I'm worthy of asking for help.
Yeah. Asking for help is a strength.
Right. But it's a tough one.
And it's a tough one for a lot of people to ask for help. Strong. You talk a lot about the mind over body healing, and how through this journey that you had to use the power of your mind to help also heal you.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So from the first couple car accidents I had, all the medicines they've had me on throughout the years really ruined my intestines. I have a hard time even processing and digesting food. It's funny, you can tell if I'm doing healthy or if I'm sick by if I'm fat or if I'm skinny. If I'm skinny, I'm not doing good. If I'm fat, I'm eating food.
Wow.
And but I realized that it's all about how I'm feeling about myself. How am I feeling good about myself? And I really believe that it's our organs that we process things and store things. And once that I start believing that I'm worthy of being healthy, that I'm worthy of being loved, that I'm worthy of being taken care of by me, God, and man, that I can do anything I want, and I can actually process food. And so I become so hypersensitive. I mean, I can't have medicines. I can barely take natural stuff. I mean, I seriously am so hypersensitive to everything. And so I don't take pain pills. So I had major shoulder surgery, and I was hurting bad enough that I took pain pills for about 2 days, and it started shutting down my breathing.
Oh, wow.
And so I called the doctors, and I'm like, okay, I'm having a severe panic attack again, and I can't breathe. And they says, well, I think you're allergic to the medicine. Try this and try this and try that. And I says, you know what we're going to do? We're not going to do anything. You can just shove that medicine. I'm not taking it. And I mean, I was in excruciating pain. I didn't think I was going to make it through this one. And another, this year and a half, has taught me that, everybody's like, oh, stay away from Facebook and don't be talking to strangers on Facebook. In the last year, I've now got over 4,000 followers, 4,700 followers, because what? These Facebook people are my people. They have gotten me through a lot of shit. I've reached out for the last year and a half and talked to people, and they've helped me through stuff. And I see something with somebody else, and I'll call them, and I'm like, okay, let's dig in this. How can I help you? So people get all kinds of weird calls from me. But when I was going through that surgery, I'll tell you what, I called another energy healer I saw in Boise that was going through surgery. And I'm like, okay, tell me, because, I can do things on everybody else, but I can't on me. It's frustrating. I'm like, why am I not able to help myself? And he says, okay, you're going to take yourself and you're going to do a session on you, and you're going to make you separate from who you are. And so when I started doing that, and then I started meditating and taking myself to another place, that was the only thing that got me out of pain. And so I just started seeing myself, my place is Montana. So I see myself up in Montana, and I'm, doing hands-on healing on me. And that's what got me through that surgery.
Yeah. The power, that strong power. For those that aren't familiar with energy healing, we do have that ability to also heal ourselves. It goes through the energy. And like the Reiki, yeah, we all need support and mentors that we can lean on. With Reiki, you can send energy to the past, to the future, to whatever event you need to, and you can also work on yourself. And so that's pretty powerful that you were able to then go and work on yourself and work through that pain and to get you over that.
Yeah. It's so funny because I don't think I have any of my books right here, but it's like I have these books, I call them my Bibles, but they're my 6 main books. And so every time that I have anything wrong or anybody I know has something wrong, I flip it open to the messages from their body, and I look up the organ or the tissue or what part of the body it is. I'm like, okay, we have an emotion here.
Yes. Well, it all relates. So for those that aren't familiar, that all disease and discomfort is rooted from thought. And it all stems from the body. Science is now learning to back that up, is that 80% of what we go through, it's rooted in thought. And so if we can go through like unforgiveness, that has to do with the heart. And people who have gone through similar things like that, when they go, Crohn's disease, it was brought from my fear and anxiety, no self-esteem, verbal abuse from my dad as a child, and stopped having attacks at 40. Wow. You took his power away. Wow. That's a powerful story, Hugh. And yeah, so like fear, anxiety, stress, some of the medicine, what I call medicine, not physical medicine, but is the spiritual medicine, like the meditating that you did and the energy healing portion. Those also help that are outside of like the normal going to doctors or that type of thing. But
I'll read just a couple things really quick to kind of give people a little bit better of an idea. So the liver holds the anger, lungs hold grief, stomach holds worry, heart and brain hold stress, kidneys hold fear. And I also look at each thing that has a problem, like the stomach. What I'm hearing when I see stomach or somebody tells me stomach is, I can't stomach this. The throat is, I can't swallow this. I can't speak your truth. I'm not being heard. The knees is people pulling the rug out from you, or somebody's pulling the rug out from you. The lower back is financial support. The shoulders is carrying the weight of the world. The eyes is what you don't want to see, and the ears is what you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives people that don't understand a little bit, maybe a little bit better idea.
Oh, totally. It's all connected. And so in your sessions, in my sessions, that's where I find different things on people. And so I'll go and I'll check, okay, well, what is this? What emotions, like you said, are stored? Like I found in my thighs. Well, in my thighs was, it was fear. It was also, it was, I'm trying to remember. I think it was discomfort. But I'll go look at the metaphysical aspect of it. Louise Hay, I just showed her book. She's one that has been huge in my healing, is to go and see, okay, where is it that I'm feeling this? And then go through and be able to see where in the body that is stored, or vice versa, go see where in the body, what is that emotion? And then I know, okay, this is how to process it. And this is what they're going through. And so that's pretty powerful. Headaches.
Another thing is to help people to figure things out a little bit on their own. I know it's so much more vital to ask somebody to help you, to guide you, like somebody like us that do energy healing, to guide them a little bit. But so the 3 easiest things that I've realized is when something happens or an illness starts, to go back and say, when did it start? Yes. And so I have 3 questions. I say, okay, what just happened? And if it was 3 months ago, say, okay, at that point, what just happened? And then ask, when did I feel like this before? And how did it make me feel? Like when I started going to all the energy classes, I knew the minute I decided to go, it was going to be the end of my marriage, because I was going up on this elevator and he was not going to be able to go with me. That was not his plan. And I knew it. And it was a tough one, because we'd been married for 26, 27 years. And I knew it was going to be over. And I knew that this was my bigger plan, and I still had to go forth and I had to go do it. And, when I did it, I lost my kids and I lost my husband and I lost the business and the house, and everything that went along with my life was over. I had to start from scratch from day one and start a whole new life. It was like I was rebirthed, and it was not fun and it wasn't easy, but
No.
I knew it's time. It's the plan. And, once I started doing energy classes, I come home and everything else has been fixed and glued and put back together from all the accidents, but I've never had any problems with my knees at that point. And I remember I was walking down the stairs to go do the laundry, and I had all this big basket of laundry, and I start walking down the stairs. My knees went out from under me. And I'm like, now what, are you kidding me? And after that happened, it lasted for about 3 or 4 months, and my knees was really bad. And then the next time it happened, I'm like, all right, stop, just stop right now. What just happened? And I'm like, oh my God, for 25 years, I've never argued back. Why? What's the point? I knew what he was going to say. I knew how it was going to end. I already saw the argument. There's no point in arguing. So for 25 years, I never argued with him. We never fought. It was just, okay, you're an asshole. And I went about my business. And so when we got to that point, I was arguing all the time because I was tired of it. I was tired of taking it and tired of just being the punch bag. And so I asked myself, what just happened? I'm like, oh my God, we just argued. I mean, we've never done that before. I don't know what to do in this situation. And I'm like, okay, when did I feel like this before? And I'm like, oh my God, this goes back to when my dad started beating me. And, it was like 7, 8 years old, 9 years old. Okay, well, you know what? My kids are about that age. So that's what's awakening this in me. And, when I'm starting all this stuff and going off in a different direction. And I says, okay, how does it make me feel? And I'm like, oh my God, it's my knees. It's the rug being pulled out from under me. And I'm like, it's men. Men pull the rug out from under me. It's not even my husband that upsets me. It's that it came from my dad. And so I'm like, wow, this is a pretty strong belief.
Yeah. Yeah. And so working through that, how did you work through it?
Yeah. So I kept going to class after class. I went to classes for years, and anytime I heard of a new modality that interests me, I flew over there and took those classes, and heard about this one and flew over there and did that one. And that just caused more strife on the marriage. But it's like, I just was starving to death. It's like, God save me, show me what to do. And, I'm walking now. So it's like, hallelujah, I'm on board.
Yeah, you started to find your independence and your voice, and then those that started to come through. And so you now do this for several different of your clients.
Mm-hmm.
You talked to me about how this has evolved and grown, and how now you also help with past life regression, Reiki, forgiveness, all the different modalities. So tell me just a little bit about what it is that you do with the clients now and how you help them through this.
So in person, I do chakra reading, and I balance, and I've always had this thing that, well, God might not give me the messages I'm supposed to have. So I never dared tell anybody that I did readings, because I'm like, I don't want to let anybody down, because that's what I do. I let everybody down. So I didn't want to tell anybody. So once they're laying here getting ready to get energy healing, I'm like, okay, I need to talk to you about your grandma or your uncle or whatever. It's like, that's what comes through. And then after I get that out of the way, then I'm like, okay, now we can do the healing. So I do the chakra reading and tell them, if I saw something in the past, the future, a past life, whatever, and balance the chakras out. We do emotional releasing on what comes from each energy in the energy part of the body. And so now I'm finally got the confidence and the knowledge that I am good enough, and I do get messages. So I am now moving to doing online. And so I'm doing sessions where I'm doing healing, distant healing, and I'm doing sessions where I'm doing the emotional releasing. So I'm helping to look at the emotions and where they come from and what they're there for. And then I do the healing on what is trying to tell you about your body. So
Powerful.
those are my two main things. Yeah, I do past life regression, and I do a lot of emotional releasing, and I do house blessings and clearings, and I do readings. But the newest thing that has I've been really working on, and it's been driving me nuts for about 3 years, and it's like, Carey, you've got to get this together. Stop farting around. And so this year, and thank God for Ryan and Nick, because they really have pushed me with that SG group. And I'm sorry, I can't even say it, so I'm not even going to try.
From
yeah.
You're amazing.
Yeah. So they really pushed me in that group and really opened me up to some things that I just could not clear. And so I finally put together my group, and it's called Self-Mastery Workshop. And what I've learned is no matter what kind of modality you do, no matter where you decide to go get healing done, I believe that sometimes we got this block where if we don't love ourselves enough or forgive ourselves or see our worth, sometimes we're not going to get everything out of energy healing that we need. And so I believe this is a forefront before they go to a lot of energy healing, because in this group, it's a one-time session, and it's about, I do it in a big group, and it's about 4 or 5 hours long, but people can do it repeatedly as many times as they need to until they get everything out of it. But it's doing exercises and worksheets and working on forgiving you and forgiving whoever's hurt you in your past, and looking at where these pains come from and what they are, and taking some of these things that have happened to you and realizing, like me with hearing that story of the little soul in the sun, that it wasn't about me. It's me loving me and forgiving me and seeing the value in me, and just doing some of these exercises to get past the hurt of who you think you are or who you think you aren't. And once that you love yourself enough that you're open to accept, then it doesn't matter what healers you go to, what kind of work you go to, you're going to get a lot more out of it, because now you are ready to accept because you value and love yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. One question to come back to is Hugh asked, so I think this strengthened you. He asked, what events defeated you, or are they a strength of who you are? I think you've turned your weaknesses into strengths. I think what you had gone through just taught you how to be relatable and how to help other people through theirs, and to be patient and to really understand. And I think that you can come from that level of that empathy and know and kind of be able to feel where they are to be able to help them out. And so I think what creates that trust almost immediately is because you have that sense and you have that inner knowing of, oh my gosh, this is what they went through. Now I know how to help them, or now I know how to hold space for them. And as healers, we hold that space for them and help to try to empower them to help heal themselves. And so I love how you've changed that. We need guidance to work through the emotional releasing clears. Emotional releasing helps clear the body. If I can talk.
Yeah. And me and you had talked about that before, and it's not like you call me and I come over and I'm like, you're healed. No, you have to go through the releasing of what's holding you hostage. What is holding that pain in your body? You are guided by me and you, or, whoever else is out there helping. We just are guiding you and helping you to see what you're holding your hands over. That's how I see healing, is I feel like we're holding our hands over our face. And we're like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. There's shit on me I don't want to see, And then if somebody else looks in, they're like, okay, pull your hand away from your face and let me see, And so it sucks that, it kind of hurts sometimes. It stings to look and go, okay, so maybe I was doing this, but why were you? It's not just something that's wrong with you. It's because of something you went through that gave you that belief.
And it's powerful. It's like well, I think of like a pebble. This is lipstick, but it's very small. But then if you just focus on this, and this is the main thing, that is the only thing that you're seeing. So then it becomes this big boulder, and you can't see a way around it.
Yes.
By going to a healer, or by going to someone to help you with, if it's not energy healing, if you go to counseling, or this is another alternative therapy to counseling or to that, but they're able to see. And so with your abilities, your clairs, your psychic intuition, whatever you want to call that, you're able to help people through. And it's that inner sense and that inner knowing, and being able to say, okay, well, this is, I know what you had felt, and this is what you've gone through.
There's been a couple events in my life, and honestly, I look back and I've gone through some stuff, and I didn't think I'd survive each of these little stuffs. And, when you're in the depth of it, you're like, oh God, please take me now. And, I always was so mad at myself. I'm like, why do I have to be so strong? I don't want to be strong. I want to be like my friends, and I want to crawl in bed, and I want to stay there all day. And I want to feel sorry for myself. But I'm too strong, and I don't know how to do that. And I'm too obstinate and too hard-headed that it's like, I give myself 5 minutes to cry, and then I start laughing because that's just my personality. It's like I'm laughing because I was crying, and I'm like, oh, this makes me so mad. Why can't I feel sorry for myself? And it's like, I remember one time, the first time I went to Southern California, I thought, what the hell is the matter with these people? They're all nuts. They was like living free and easy. And I was so freaked out because I came from Salt Lake City, Utah, and Pocatello, Idaho. And I'm like, oh my God, these people are nuts. I would never do what they did. And I was really depressed because I was stuck there for like a month. I couldn't come back home. I had all these things happening. And I'm like, I was sitting there in the bedroom of somebody that let me stay at their house. They just showed up when I had no place to stay. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about it. And I'm like, you know what? If I took this depression and I ate it and realized there's something to it. It's showing me I've never known the depths of hell of depression until I felt this. And I'm like, you know what? This is a good thing, because now this shows me what it feels like to be in this deep of depression. Now I have another key to share with somebody else. It's okay.
Yeah. Wow. And that's powerful.
Oh, yeah.
That joy and that state and that freedom, that's our birthright. That's our divine right to be able to feel and to be in those higher elevations. And that's powerful that you were able to take that and transform that and to be able to help other people with it.
Yeah. So seriously, it's like all the stupid things, I call them stupid because it's like I don't understand them, and I'm scientific, yet I'm doing all this woo-woo stuff. And I'm like, okay, you can't be scientific and do woo-woo. There has to be something straight here. And I'm like, you know what? I finally decided that I had to have an unexplainable shelf, and I had to put everything on it that didn't make sense scientifically to me. And one day they do. And I honestly believe, like you said, with the makeup and the boulder and stuff.
Yeah.
My belief is that, I have to know everything that's going on. Everything has to make sense. And so I've got one of those little mag lights, and I'm like focusing in on what's upsetting me. And I just see this little bit of light, and that's what I'm concentrating on. And I'm like, okay, I'm in an accident. This is what I see. And then when we back up far enough back out of the situation and let God help and God bring the light, and all of a sudden he turns on the light in the room, and I'm like, whoa, what the hell? There's more going on here than just me in this car accident. It's a bigger picture.
It's a bigger picture. It's that non-attachment too.
Yes. And that's a thing for healing. It's like I got hurt again. It's like it's my way of learning. I think that was the key I picked up was I want injury. Can I have pain and injury? That's what I want to learn from when I go down to earth. That's my key. I fell off a ladder right the beginning of December, and I really tore my knee up. And I'm like, I'm so pissed off. It's like, but you know what? I've been learning stuff from this too, because I'm like, okay, why can I heal other people and why am I not healing me? And I'll tell you what, this has been another one of my biggest lessons, because it's like, Carey, that's why people need you, because you are valuable. You do help. And sometimes you just can't help heal yourself. Sometimes you're so immersed in your pain, and other people, when they're hurt, are so immersed in their pain, that's all you can see is your pain. It's like me and Hugh has this thing about the shack. And that's one of my favorite lines from there is God saying, you had to come back because this is where your pain was. So yeah. When we're so immersed in that pain, that's all we see is our pain. We don't see God. We don't see the light. We don't see being healed. Okay, well, you know what? I'm not immersed in your pain. I can come in from the outside and be that light and help show you how to get through that pain and see why you're there. What is there to teach you? So yeah, so I get in pain. And guess what? Sometimes I'm too immersed in my pain and I can't get myself out. I need to ask for help.
Yeah. Oh, healers need healers and coaches need coaches. And
right?
Yes. Yeah. It's you stepping outside of the box and someone else being able to help you. So we're
it's tough. You got to ask for help again.
Yeah. You got to ask for help. Mine wasn't my physical body. Mine was in the house. So I had 2 floods and I'm in a rental house. And so like the first one, there was a leak I think it was the sink, or it was the bathtub, the little drain. For some reason, the bathtub was leaking through that drain and it went down into the basement and it created a hole. And it put a little hole through the ceiling. And oh my gosh, I was so scared to tell my landlord. And it took them a couple months for them to come and finally get that fixed. And that was a hard lesson to go through. Well, that was about a year or so ago. And then last January, like a major one happened. I guess it was about a year and a half ago, because last January, then another flood happened, and I was wakened from my sleep about 3 a.m. The angels were like, Shawnalee, get up, get up, get up. And I didn't want to get up, but I kept hearing this funny sound. And I was like, no, I don't want to get up. But they were like, no, you have to get up now. So I went into the bathroom, and there was 1.5 inches of water on the floor. And so I sweeped that up. I threw everything in the tub and I ran downstairs, and there was an 8-foot section that was taken out of my ceiling in the basement. And I was just so worried and so stressed. And so I called the landlord the next day, and he came and he took right care of it. But as I was seeing an energy healer myself, he's like, Shawnalee, that's your root chakra. I was going through a lot of fear myself and going through like pain and doubt, and like, that's your structure. And also at that same time, I had in my psoad, in my left psoad, it was in my structure of my body, in my hips. And so he's like, yeah, that's your root chakra. And so that's how that manifested for me in my physical world. So not only did it happen, internally, here it was showing in my physical aspects is, okay, you need to sit and take care of this. And so being able to go through that and reach out to someone else for help to where I couldn't see. And then it was like, and I had friends that come in and said, this is for your teaching, this is that second time. They're just like, well, maybe this is trying to teach you something. Like, don't freak out. Just come back, look at that bigger perspective. And so then I was able to go through that and be able to like say, oh, okay. So I needed to come out of fear and to come out of that scarcity. So I had a really big expansion. But then with expansion, you've got to allow for integration. And I was just expanding and expanding and expanding and not allowing for that integration. And so it sent me into a contraction. And then that's where that fear and that.
And then everything blew.
Yes, quite literally. So one of my affirmations had to be home, safe home, is because I just had this panic attack and like this fear when I would leave the house and I would just hear water running. And I'm like, what in the heck is going on? And, that was another thing with the bathtub and everything. So then it was like trusting and, okay, home, safe home, home, safe home. And then coming back here And I think this is the biggest place where people miss out, is coming back into their inner world and then finding, what's going on inside and really sitting down and listening to their souls. Like you said, you did through meditation, and then being able to understand, okay, why am I feeling this feeling? And what does it mean?
And that's the thing. And that's why I've got my name of my business is Soul Connections, because it's like, when we are out of alignment, when we are disconnected, we are not in alignment with our soul. I mean, yeah, we are a soul and we're in this body, but if our mind and our beliefs and our thoughts are on this track, and then our soul is like, come on, Shawnalee, over here, come on, you're not on track. You have to marry those two with the emotions and the beliefs with the soul, or you're disconnected. And then things happen in your life, accidents happen, your body, things happen. I mean, everything that goes on around you is also part of that healing.
It is. Everything's a mirror, like you said. And like Natalie's saying, that take time to heal. If we don't, the universe will force us to. And this was definitely my message from the universe, is that, hey, wake up. This is your little wake up call. A lot of people didn't hear us before. So now we're going to make you see. And now you're going to take some time to actually feel that, to heal that.
Don't you love that? It's like you get this tap and it's like, hello. And you're like, stop it, stop it, stop it. And then it's like smacking you. It's, hello, do you hear me? And you're like, stop it, stop it, stop it. And then all of a sudden you have a car wreck or your roof falls and you're like, okay, what was going on? Excuse me, sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I'm listening.
Yeah, I'm listening. And so getting other people to get in touch with that inner being. Tell me just really quick about past life regression and how you work with that with people.
So it's so funny, because a lot of times when I do healing with people, once we keep getting deeper and deeper into the healing, almost every time, not every time, but almost every time, we're like, okay, so I've gotten down to this belief and where it came from, but I feel like there's something deeper. And so then we look at, okay, who's the people in your life? Because I feel like we recirculate with the same people in different roles from like last time. Yeah. And so when we get down to a certain point, then we're like, oh my God, this came from when you was, say, like one of my friends, it's like she was with the king, and he was married to, of course, the queen, and she was cheating with the king, right? And here she's got the same husband, and he keeps coming and rescuing her. Well, the queen finds out, so she locks her up, right? So now she's got this thing that she thinks men always have to save her.
Wow.
So here it comes into this lifetime, and she's wondering, why are we not able to heal it? Well, if we can't get to the very, very bottom of it, it's coming from a past life. So I'll tell you my biggest past life thing that happened to me. So my name was Anderson growing up. And so I had to be, and believe it or not, I used to be super shy. I know it's hard, but I used to be super shy. And so growing up, my name was Anderson. So I was always had to sit in the front row. I was freaking out my entire life, because I'm like, don't make me sit where people's behind me. Panic attack that people's behind me. I'm like, they're going to do something to me. Why are people behind me? So, I started being the class clown until they moved me in the back away from the rest of the class, because I wouldn't shut up. So they keep moving me to the back of the room, and we go to a restaurant. I have to sit against the wall. I can't have people behind me. And I'm like, okay, it's got to be because of the abuse. That's what it is. It's just that I don't trust people behind me. So that's what I always just assumed. So when I start going to all my theta classes and all the training and stuff I went to, she teaches us about past life regression. And so we go back to our apartment, we're all practicing on each other, and somebody did a past life on me. And honest to God, I saw me in a stagecoach, and, there's a guy next to me, and there's another couple across from me, and there's like these big red curtains on the windows, and it's dark. And, I see, and I hear me being the class clown, and every time I'm laughing and being the class clown, something always happens, And so I see me in this past life regression, and I see exactly where I'm at. I know I'm in Reno. I'm on my way to Reno. I see that there's bags of money, treasures, whatever, up on the top. And I'm, of course, laughing and talking as usual. And all of a sudden, these bandits are like coming up alongside of us. And this guy reaches in, and they're on all four windows, and reaches in and slices my throat.
Oh, wow.
And I've always had problems, I mean, you can hear my voice, it's like my voice is because of my surgeries. I have a hard time talking after so long. So back then, I couldn't speak my truth. And I was always scared of people being behind me. So as soon as I realized where that came from, and even the guy doing the past life on me could see what was happening to me. He saw me in Reno. He saw me get my throat cut.
Ugh.
And so he was spiritually seeing it as I was. And he's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. And I'm like, do you see what I see? And so once that we did that, I no longer have a fear of people being behind me. I mean, if I go to a restaurant and somebody's just standing there, I'm going to turn around and go, excuse me, can I help you? Because nobody wants somebody just standing behind you.
Yeah.
But I never have had panic anymore about sitting with my back to a room. If I go to a conference, I'm on the first row.
Yeah.
And that would have never happened if I didn't go and clear this past life of why I was so terrified about being in front of people.
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that you use that now is to kind of help get you through.
Mm-hmm.
And what I told people also about the past is those past lives, it's not meant to go relive those experiences, but to help and have that awareness to know what you went through to be able to move forward.
So the way I explain it to people is, how when you're going to go to bed at night and you're going, okay, I got to go shopping tomorrow. I got to get the apples, got to get the apples, got to get the apples. And so all night long, you're not sleeping soundly because you're trying to remember the apples, the apples, the apples. So I always tell everybody a past life is just like that. If I would just take a notebook to bed and I would write down, okay, get the apples because last time you forgot them. So now a past life is the exact same thing. You're sitting there going, remember how many times you've gotten burned for being a witch? You don't want to do that again. And so I'm telling myself in my subconscious, oh my God, remember that was not fun. That was not a good time. So I keep telling myself in my subconscious, watch out, that sucked. That sucked bad. And so I'm scared to be the witch, right? So if I go back and I realize that that's a subconscious for my soul, I can go and heal that. And I don't have to go, what was it I was trying to remember? It was there to help me. What was I trying to remember? If you just go back and see why it was there, you can realize it's nothing I need to worry about. I don't need those stupid apples now,
Yeah. I've had those witch wounds and being burned.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of truth, which, in my marriage, I did not speak my truth and wasn't able to. I was constricted. And so now being able to speak out. And
did you have any throat problems?
Yeah. I had hands that just kept me from speaking. It was like I was silenced. And so,
it's funny how many people I work on that, like when I do a chakra reading and I'm feeling the energy down, because the throat chakra does the mouth and the ears. And so people aren't hearing, aren't being heard, and they're not speaking. And so when you feel their energy, I cannot tell you how many people have got thyroid problems. And I'm like,
yes, I did. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I did. And taking off that armor too. So living with an open heart, but then being able to be vulnerable with that.
Did you lose a bunch of weight?
Yeah. So far 55.
See, because you was weighing yourself down with that, and you had that was your armor, was the weight. Yeah. It was to keep you safe and protected.
Yeah, I called it the masculine shield, is because that was my protection. And so as I continue to go through and heal, and I still have about 60 to go.
And now it's okay. One of the first girls I worked on, she's, I don't know, she's in her mid 20s, I think. And she's like, Carey, I just keep getting fatter and fatter, and I can't figure out why I can't lose weight. And why did I gain it? I says, okay, tell me when you gained it. And she says, oh God, I'll bet I was about 16 and a half years old. And I'm like, okay, I see you hiding in a closet. What happened at 16? She goes, oh my God, the first time I went out on a date, I got date raped.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Getting fat, putting weight on, it protects you, because then men don't want to be around you, is what your subconscious is telling you. I'm protecting me. And that next month she lost 13 pounds.
That's awesome. Yeah. And to be able to get through that, so many different events. I also find, like, with women who have gone through that similar thing, healing the part of the thighs, that's where I had carried and stored some trauma as well. And so looking at the whole parts of the body and seeing where that trauma lies, because not necessarily just in there. So I've gone and I've now offered womb healings to be able to help women with that aspect, and to go through and take those feelings of grief, or take whatever feelings that are in there, to be able to clear it out. So a lot of people don't know that the womb space, also the hara space for men, is where we create. That's our creation. That's where we birth life, and not just physical life, but the life of all our creation. So being able to go through and clear that out, to be able to overcome those things. So, wow. That really, really helps. I love that you said that. What else? Is there anything else that we had talked about that maybe I had missed?
I think out of every single thing, I mean, I do so many different variants of everything, that I'm like, okay, I just do these 5 things. And then if you need the others, then okay, I'll do them. But, the biggest thing is, I just want people to know, from the experiences I've had and things I've gone through and things I've seen other people to go through. And I don't care if you're in a wheelchair, if you're mentally challenged, I don't care what your problem is. It doesn't matter. It does not matter how bad things are. Always know there's hope. You're not hopeless. You're not helpless. You're not worthless. No matter what is going on, please just realize there is hope. I mean, you can get out of that. I am walking. Honest to God, you cannot convince me that nothing is impossible. You just can't. I'm freaking walking. And I just want people to know that nothing's hopeless. Okay, so maybe you won't get out of that wheelchair. I can't guarantee you will. I'm just too damn dumb to know that I couldn't. And I just want people to know that nothing is hopeless. I mean, even if you can't get out of that wheelchair, at least you can know that there's a whole world out there that you can enjoy, and you can be at peace and happy with where you're at in that wheelchair, and know that that is your key and your strength of getting you to another place. But nothing is hopeless. And I want people to realize that you are so much more valuable than what you even think you are or give yourself credit for. And if you just start loving yourself, honoring yourself, and forgiving yourself, that's all that matters. I mean, you can grow up to be a giant. You can do anything you want, but you have to love and forgive yourself first. That's the key to healing. That's the key to living. And that's the key to doing anything that you want to do in this world.
I love that message. Thank you for ending with that. Yeah. Is loving and forgiving yourself. So how do people reach out to you?
I don't know how to post anything on here. I can't even read what everybody's doing, but my phone number is 208-705-0507. You can call, text, you can Facebook me. A lot of men don't want to talk when they do sessions. So I've got people that want to do text healing. It's okay. I don't care. However you're comfortable doing it, let's do it. So I do I do sessions texting people. I do it on internet. I do it on Facebook Live. I do it on the phone. It doesn't matter. Whatever you're comfortable with, I'm good with it. And people mostly find me on Facebook under Carey Tomich, and I have my healing page is called Soul Connections, and it's connected to my Facebook. So you can get a hold of me any of those different ways.
Yeah. Oh, well, that is so awesome. And if you're not subscribed, hit subscribe in the comments for Wake Up with Giants TV. And if you're not a part of the Tribe of Giants, we invite you in because there's just such an amazing tribe and group of people. That's how I met Carey, is through the Tribe of Giants. And we've known each other for maybe about a year or so, maybe
Probably.
maybe
A
about
lot of incredible people. Oh my God, some of my newest, bestest friends in the world. I can't wait to meet everybody. You know, we talk online, but none of us has met in person. There's going to be this great big party one day, and we're all going to be out dancing in the street.
Yes, yeah, great events to be able to meet everyone in person. And yes, hello, friends. Hello, Lori. Hello, Paula. And hello, Hugh.
Paula's one of my newest, bestest friends in the world.
Yes, yeah. So a beautiful group of people, a beautiful tribe. So if you're not connected there, go and find out what the Tribe of Giants are about, and who they are, and their total being. And you inspire me, so thank you, and I appreciate you coming
You
to talk.
inspire me too. I love you.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing your posts, and thank you. So I hope everyone has a good night, and that you found something that maybe you can use and take away in this. And as Carey said, it's all about hope and not giving up and loving yourself every bit, every aspect. And you're an example of what you have taken through all those lessons and through all that pain and that trauma, and that you can overcome it and you can heal it. So thank you for
Because
being.
you can either use it as your fortress and keep yourself hidden away, or you can take that pain and use it as your fuel and start your fire. It's up to you.
Yeah. Yes. All in the perspective.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Giants. Have a good night.
I love you guys all. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.